Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The search for a missing hiker appears to have ended tragically today. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Police believe they have found the body of a woman who was reported missing Sunday on Black Mountain. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas says she was considered at risk because of the hot weather and the trail's terrain.
Police say 50-year-old DM Wynn started hiking the Nighthawk Trail at Black Mountain with a large group of people at 8 a.m. on Sunday. They say the group decided to turn back about halfway up the mountain. Wynn continued the hike alone. Police say she contacted the group at 9:30 to say she had reached the summit. About half an hour later, she made another phone call.
At about 10:08 a.m., family received a phone call from DM expressing distress. She was extremely hot and needed water.
Search and rescue teams looked late into the night and began again this morning with the help of helicopters, drones, and search dogs. Meyer says a helicopter located a body a short distance away from the intersection of Carmel Mountain Road and Via Rimini.
She was a quarter mile away from a population, from reaching a street, so she nearly made it out.
Meyer says the county medical examiner's office will confirm Wynn's identity and cause of death. The National Weather Service warned of dangerously hot conditions over the weekend. Wynn was considered missing at risk because of Sunday's hot weather and the trail's difficulty. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
That excessive heat warning is in effect until at least Thursday evening in our deserts. One way to beat the heat is by going to one of the cool zones across San Diego County. And we have a map and a full list of locations that you can go to. You can find that on our website. Just go to kpbs.org and then click on our top story.
We're looking for some relief from the heat, and tonight coastal clouds come back in temperatures in the upper 60s for lows. We will keep the morning clouds, but I'll tell you how there are more changes in the numbers in the days to come.
Violence making headlines over the weekend, highlighting the continued tensions in the U.S. over the Israel-Hamas war. This as Israel's prime minister signals that intense fighting in Gaza could be winding down in the weeks ahead. Laura Aguirre brings us the latest.
Violence erupted between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel demonstrators Sunday outside a Los Angeles synagogue that was hosting an event about buying land in Jerusalem.
It's not meant to be intimidating. Yeah, disruptive for sure. This is intimidating. We didn't get in anyone's faces.
Tensions over the Israel-Hamas war have flared across the U.S. since last fall, but Sunday's clash was criticized by officials for targeting an event inside a Jewish house of worship.
I don't think the Jewish people will go in front of a mosque or Christian people go in front of a mosque do such a thing.
California's governor and President Joe Biden are among the voices condemning the violence in posts on X. Also over the weekend, a Texas woman is charged with attempted capital murder and injury to a child after allegedly trying to drown a 3-year-old Palestinian girl who was swimming with her mom at an apartment complex near Dallas. The child was not seriously injured. The local chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations wants the attack investigated as a hate crime. These latest headlines come as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in a Sunday interview that the intense fighting phase in Gaza could wind down soon. But the war itself will not completely end until Hamas is eliminated and all hostages, alive and dead, are returned home.
After the intense phase is finished, we will have the possibility to move part of the forces north.
In the north, Israel.
And the need to temper any escalation between Israeli and Hezbollah forces was central to a meeting today between U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Israel's defense minister. Today kicks off a blockbuster week in the 2024 U.S. presidential race, and we'll see President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump share a debate stage for the first time since the year 2020. And the Supreme Court will likely weigh in on some key decisions. Karen Kava has the latest.
Election day is less than 5 months away, but this week could prove pivotal for both campaigns.
These two men will not debate again until September. And so you're going to leave that taste in the mouth of voters who watch for a really long time.
President Joe Biden is huddled with advisors at the Camp David retreat to prepare for Thursday's debate with former President Donald Trump in Atlanta and the multiple versions of Trump that may show up.
Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
This week could also bring the Supreme Court ruling on Trump's claim of sweeping immunity against criminal prosecution for alleged crimes he committed during his presidency. In its final days of the term, the High Court has yet to issue a handful of major opinions, including their ruling on Idaho's abortion law, which the Biden administration argued conflicts with federal mandates requiring doctors to stabilize patients in an emergency. Abortion was front and center for the Biden administration Monday, the second anniversary of the Supreme Court ruling in Dobbs v. Jackson, which overturned Roe v. Wade and ended the constitutional right to an abortion.
This is a fight for freedom, the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body.
Both campaigns will seek to rally the support of women this fall, especially in suburban swing districts that could tip the balance in battleground states. At the White House, I'm Karen Kaifa.
You can watch a PBS News simulcast of the CNN presidential debate right here on KPBS. Coverage of the debate and analysis starts at 6 p.m. on Thursday, June 27th. State leaders say they've reached an agreement on California's budget. Governor Newsom said the deal involves almost $300 billion in expenditures while filling a nearly $47 billion budget deficit. It proposes using more than $12 billion from the state's rainy day fund over the next 2 years to help shore up the deficit. The budget includes a reduction of almost 8% to nearly all state department budgets. Cuts include more than $1 billion from affordable housing programs and $746 million for healthcare workforce development. Lawmakers are expected to finalize the budget this week. The effort to fix the decades-long Tijuana sewage crisis by the border took another step forward today. State Senator Steve Padilla and a coalition of local leaders discussed two Senate bills they believe will help. The first, Senate Bill 1208, would stop the creation of a landfill around the Tijuana watershed. The second Senate Bill 1178 would hold corporations near the border responsible for the waste that they produce.
Well, it's going to take a while, but we have to put the pieces in place. And my bills, as I explained earlier, are, I think, important contributions to that effort, right? I think we need to protect the Tijuana River watershed, and we need to hold folks accountable that are helping to contribute to the problem.
Senator Padilla says the two bills will be voted on by an Environmental Safety and Toxic Materials Committee tomorrow. If the legislation passes, it will go before another committee. 140 acres of lush pastoral land sit tucked in the city of Vista, and until recently, many people didn't even know it existed until a large portion of that land went up for sale. Some of the potential buyers want to use the property to help those facing mental health issues and homelessness. But KPBS reporter Tanya Thorne tells us the proposed sale worries some who already provide services at the site.
Just off Sycamore Avenue and not far from a busy shopping center, you'll find Green Oak Ranch. They call themselves a retreat, but it's more than that.
We operate a camp and retreat center, an RV park for low-income residents of Vista, and a drug and alcohol recovery program.
Hannah Gailey is the executive director of Green Oak Ranch Ministry. the organization that's been leasing the ranch for 74 years at a cost of $1 a year. But a large part of the property is now up for sale, 110 out of 140 acres. The section for sale includes the RV park, where Karen Allison lives.
We've lived here for 8 years, my husband and I with our 3 children, and we came here as a solution out of homelessness. We were staying at Operation Hope in Vista, and they were closing at the time for the season. They weren't a year-round shelter yet. And so we had to figure something out.
Green Oak Ranch Ministries offered Allison and her family a FEMA trailer. It started as a rental agreement and then turned into a rent-to-own opportunity.
Now we own the trailer, and we don't have a vehicle strong enough to pull it, but it's ours technically.
It was a safe haven, Allison says, her family needed coming out of homelessness.
So the first thing that we cherished moving into a trailer, even though it's still really not big enough housing for a family of 5, the first thing that we cherished was the privacy. Because anybody who's ever had to spend some time in a homeless shelter knows that that's not really one of the things that you're afforded there.
And they're not the only ones. There are about 30 families in the RV park who come from similar situations.
We now pay a $1,000 site fee. We are in the fortunate position of having paid off our trailer. A lot of our neighbors still have to make payments on their trailer. Some are actually living in borrowed rigs that a church or a friend allows them to use. Some of our neighbors are refugees from different countries.
She says the affordable rent was a solution many of the families had been searching for. And with the future of the land in question, so are the community's living situations.
A year or 2 is a lot of notice, yes, but it doesn't really increase our alternative options. And I know in that time we won't suddenly make double of what we're earning right now. And now I don't know where we would go.
Next to the RV community is the land used for retreats and camps.
We can host up to 400 people at a time. We serve foster kids, Girl Scouts, church groups. We have thousands of kids that come through here each year, and that is a majority of our income.
Gailey with Green Oaks Ranch Ministries manages the camps. She says the income from them helps keep prices affordable for the RV park and the men's recovery program, also on site.
It's a 9-month program for $500 per month. And then after that, we offer a 6-month transitional living program where our guys can work off site and stay here for the $500 per month. And so we have had a good amount of success with that. Of the guys who stay 30 days or more, 40% graduate.
The men's program is on the 28 acres not for sale. But Gailey says the potential loss of the camp and land jeopardizes the program's model.
We have a work therapy program. Our men work the ranch. They take care of animals here, they clean cabins after camps, they provide all of the food for our camps, and they maintain the 140 acres. And in exchange, we are able to offer our program at $500 a month, which is well below the cost of having people here. So without our 110 acres, we have to change the model of what we do.
The sale is happening because the ranch's owner died. There are already several bids for the land, with proposals for supportive services for mental health and people who are unhoused. Karen Allison sees a contradiction in the plans.
It is ironic to come in and say we want to use the ranch and expand the vision of serving the homeless population. And as part of that, these people have to go and lose their home. We would be made homeless over this.
We'll have more on what the proposals look like tomorrow. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
Today marks 2 years since the Supreme Court Dobbs decision effectively overturning Roe v. Wade, and it comes as the High Court considers another potentially monumental abortion case. Amy Kiley has this look at the abortion battle.
Emergencies in pregnancy can happen in a moment.
Today marks 2 years since the Supreme Court overturned the federal right to abortion access.
If I have an emergency, My first call would be my lawyer, and my second call would be my doctor.
The Biden campaign says it's holding more than 50 events to rally supporters around the anniversary. The Women's March is calling for strikes in multiple states.
The Dobbs decision ushered in a new era of American politics. It changed for women, but it also changed for democracy.
Others celebrate the high court ruling.
Roe v. Wade and that decision of it being overturned has given the decision back to the people at the state level, and every state will look different. I think that's appropriate.
This patchwork of state abortion protections and restrictions is the result of the Dobbs ruling.
This is a state that's clear about protecting women and creating equality.
We have women that are suffering, that are driving hundreds of miles for an abortion.
Now, some patients and doctors say the state laws can create confusion, fear, and heartache.
What is often the most devastating time in your life, a complicated pregnancy, and then so much unnecessary suffering added to that because of the strict abortion bans.
I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
A Supreme Court ruling earlier this month protects what might be the most common kind of abortion in the U.S. It lets the FDA continue its approach to regulating mifepristone, including allowing the pill to be mailed to patients without an in-person doctor's visit. But the ruling leaves the door open to future challenges. The near auction of Elvis Presley's iconic Memphis home-turned tourist attraction made headlines recently. Graceland was nearly stolen by scammers. Experts say rental properties, vacation homes, and homes where the owners are deceased can be targets of this kind of scheme. Here's Michael Yoshida with how to keep your property safe.
Elvis Presley's iconic Memphis home Graceland nearly auctioned off. A Tennessee judge stopping the attempted foreclosure sale after self-proclaimed scammers said they had a claim to the famous house using a scheme called home title fraud, which happens when scammers impersonate homeowners to refinance or sell a victim's property and then pocket the money.
It's a relatively easy scam for talented criminals.
Experts say the internet, along with new technologies and ways to create forgeries, have made this type of fraud easier to carry out. And often a lawsuit is needed to figure out who is the real owner.
To get to the end of a trial, it could be $150,000 and would probably take a year and a half, 2 years.
A time-consuming and costly process. So how to protect you and your home or properties? Attorney Terry Fox says the most important thing, get an enhanced title insurance policy when you buy the property or shortly after.
If you get it at closing, it's good for the end of time without any payment of any other premiums. Covers any type of fraud that happens after you buy it. You call the insurance company and file a claim, and then they take over.
Another thing, keep an eye on the deed to your property.
You can go online and check to see who the county thinks is the owner. You can check and see if there's been a purported transfer of title, if there's been a deed recorded.
In Washington, I'm Michael Yoshida reporting.
There's a new place in the North County for bikers to drop off, jump, and corner the berms. KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wen says the badly needed park was years in the making.
Excitement is in the air.
I love it.
This is the region's newest bike park.
The step-up jumps on the Black Diamond sound and look really, really cool.
The 8-acre bike course at Bradley Park in San Marcos includes a pump track, a perimeter trail, and jump lines for all skill levels, from beginners to advanced.
We've worked for a long time to work on a location in North County for such an amenity.
Susie Murphy is the executive director for the San Diego Mountain Biking Association. She says planning for the park started in 2017 when the city found that some kids had built unsanctioned jump lines in a protected open space.
But of course, that's not really the way to go about it. So the city contacted us and actually contacted some of those kids and families directly about how we could engage on finding a real place for an official bike park in San Marcos.
The park is the first of its kind in North County. Previously, bikers would have to go to South Bay or Orange or Riverside counties for amenities like this.
3, 2, 1.
We anticipate several hundred to several thousand a day, depending on the time of year and depending on the weather, of course. But it's going to be a very popular amenity that we're happy to be able to provide, especially to our San Marcos residents.
San Marcos Parks and Rec Director Mark Olson says it's a great way for kids to get involved in recreational activities, especially now that school is over. But Zoe Primish, the incoming San Marcos High mountain bike team captain, is already eyeing the benefits of having the park right next door.
So we're thinking about doing the Kenda Cup and the Teen Big Bear series, which is more enduro and downhill oriented. So with this bike park here, it's going to be really easy to practice. We're going to get more time to practice, and it's definitely going to help us.
Well, this is the first bike park to open in North County. It won't be the only one. 2 others are coming.
One at Carlsbad Veteran Park is set to start construction in 2025, and one in Escondido is in the beginning stages, though funding has been approved. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
The threat of wildfires is twice as great the past 20 years, according to some new research. A study by the University of Tasmania found both the frequency and the intensity of extreme wildfires has more than doubled between January 2003 and November of 2023. Researchers collected data from 2 NASA satellites. In the western U.S. and Canada, extreme fires increased 11 times, from 6 such fires in 2003 to 67 in 2023. The reasons behind the extreme fires were not part of the study. If you plan to beat this week's heat with a dip in the ocean, you may want to avoid these beaches. Water closures were issued for locations on your screen due to elevated bacteria levels. The Silver Strand shoreline, Imperial Beach shorelines, and the Tijuana Slough shoreline. There are also water contact advisories at the La Jolla Children's Pool, Coronado Mission Bay, and Ocean Beach, as well as Dog Beach.
Say goodbye to the heat. We're easing our way out of it. A lot of those numbers still quite high in spots, but we are starting to temper our way on down. So it's the gradual fall. Limited moisture around, though, means there's not much relief from the heat. Coastal low clouds will be out there for us. But as we get through Wednesday, air quality alerts stick with us, as well as some of those heat concerns before we find a cooler trend, especially into Friday. That's really going to be probably the coolest day of the upcoming days. Heading through tonight, though, we go back down to 68 for the low in San Diego, 64 in Oceanside. Of course, Chula Vista also dealing with some of those incoming clouds. Well, Borrego Springs bottoms out in the lower 80s. Showers, thunderstorms, they're going to be more of a thing through the interior southwest. That's as we start to get some of that monsoonal moisture this time of year. It's a gradual trend, but without it in our desert locations, it means we still have some concerns for the heat. Excessive heat warnings are in effect as we head into Wednesday, so please remember to be cautious. Tomorrow's forecast showing you what's going on here. And again, it's back into the mid-70s for San Diego, but we do have those clouds in the morning that we're getting rid of as you work towards Borrego Springs, 111 for that high. All moisture really trending its way much farther to the east. We actually get a little bit of Pacific flow kind of coming in, but it's not enough to generate really any showers or thunderstorms. That's going to be through the Four Corners into portions of Nevada. That's where we remain with those thunderstorms, not only for Tuesday, tomorrow, but also into Wednesday as well. As we go through time, coastal communities eventually make their way back into the mid-70s for highs. So there's that comfort. Thursday, Friday, even into Saturday, we hold on to it. Adds in a few extra clouds for us. Inland communities, we do make it to the lower 80s by the time we get into Friday. So like I said, kind of the cooler day of the week, if you will, but we start to really notice that relief coming through Wednesday and Thursday. And for the mountain communities, we'll find that lower 70s on Friday. Desert communities, we do fall back to the 110 range, so we're easing up on some of the most intense heat. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Melissa Constanzer.
Juneteenth in San Diego means festivals, barbecues, and block parties across the region, all to celebrate the end of slavery in the United States. At one public library, KPBS South Bay reporter Corey Suzuki says a quieter celebration was also happening.
Breezy Bennett beams as she shows off a set of her paintings, dancing with swirling patterns and bright colors.
This table here really represents me very well because it's very bright and colorful. And a lot of people aren't drawn to color that way, but I think that I have a good composition for color.
One of the pieces shows 5 figures, connected by dozens of winding threads.
What it says is that we're all human. We come in all colors and all packages, shapes and sizes, but The one thing that we have in common is that we are connected, by all the threads of communication, the threads of love, the threads of emotion, the threads that bind us.
Bennett is here at the Chula Vista Public Library in Otay Ranch for a Juneteenth celebration of Black art. The event was put on by two newer arts organizations, Liberation Through Art and the San Diego Art Directory. Noelle Oshanodagi is a photographer and the founder and CEO of Liberation Through Art. It launched with its first event in March. Her long-term goal for the organization is to build an institute dedicated to Black art and health.
I really hope that Liberation Through Art can not only be an advocate for Black artistry and Black arts, but also Black health, and create like an actual institution where people can come to learn and also receive services.
The arts community has always been strong, and not just in Chula Vista, but in South Bay. They just have not been as united as most people would like.
Bruce Veal is with the San Diego Art Directory. He isn't an artist himself, but joined because he feels the arts community and the work of Black artists in particular are underappreciated.
But they are strong individuals, groups of people, and arts organizations that, again, give back and love the community wholeheartedly. And we don't do enough to highlight them and appreciate them like we should.
Veal hopes this Juneteenth event will be a step towards changing that and will serve as a reminder of the presence and strength of the African diaspora in American life. Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
And here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. China is bringing rock samples from the moon back to Earth. NPR's Morning Edition explains how China and the U.S. will work together to study what was found. And KPBS Midday Edition will talk with I Love a Clean San Diego about their work happening this summer. And one way to stay caught up with KPBS News is the San Diego News Now podcast. It's an easy way to stay on top of the news of the day with new episodes every weekday morning. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.